Hey guys, what's going on? In this video today, we're going to be talking about which legendary I think is the best for a Havoc Demon Hunter in arena gameplay. And after running about 4,000 games, I would say that my top two would be Chaos Theory and Darkest Hour. Chaos Theory as your offensive legendary, and if you want to play more defensive, Darkest Hour. So let's go over what each one of these does. Chaos Theory, it buffs your Chaos Strike and Annihilation damage by 50%. It's a significant amount of damage. Your Annihilation and Chaos Strikes already hit pretty hard, like as is. You can get a hit anywhere from about 2,000 up to 5,000. I mean, that's pretty hard, I would say. And when you buff that damage, your Chaos Strike hits even harder, right? So you're just able to put more pressure on your target with your Chaos Theory, and you're less reliant on going into demon form, really, and being how would you say, your damage buffs you would get from demon form, right? Which is your Annihilation and Death Sweep, right? Instead of Blade Dance and Chaos Strike. Chaos Theory just buffs your damage, and it's RNG, right? But it still overall does increase your damage by a lot. And coming into 9.1, our Chaos Strike and Annihilation damage is going to be buffed by 15%. So Demon Hunters have already gotten an 8% damage buff to all our abilities so far since release of Shadowlands. So adding an additional 15% damage on top of one of our main abilities, that is definitely like a big help. I would think that even more people will start to play Demon Hunters now, because Demon Hunters have definitely been like a bottom pick, third choice pick, right? Currently, just with the way they're designed, you have to really go out of your way to be able to live one, right? And you do a lot of damage as a Demon Hunter, and yes, you're reliant on hunts. However, with Chaos Theory, it alleviates some of the pressure off of having to have all your goes based around your hunt, and you can just do more consistent damage as long as you're able to stay on top of the target, which as a Demon Hunter, that you have excessive mobility, right? So it just goes hand in hand. I mean, you'll always be Blade Dancing and Death Sweeping, so both Blade Dance and Death Sweep activate your Chaos Theory legendary, and Chaos Theory legendary pairs really well with your Relentless Onslaught Potency Conduit. Depending on what item level your conduits are, changes the percent chance at which you can get a second Chaos Strike and or Annihilation. I've had it before where I've had someone at about 30% and I'm chasing them down and attacking, and right now Details doesn't track like your Relentless Onslaught procs. I wish it did. But I've noticed it to where you just see the extra damage. Like if you're hitting for 3-4k Annihilations or Chaos Strikes, you'll just notice their health just to drop faster, right? And those 3-4ks, it'll duplicate and it'll turn into 6 or 8k hits. So it can in a way work like an execute. It isn't an execute ability, but when you're chasing down, say like a warrior, a healer, any class, right? And you're death sweeping and you're spamming your Chaos Strike and Annihilation, after enough games, I mean, you'll notice the difference of when it does and does not proc. I think it procs fairly often. 7.5% chance is low, but when you're doing a lot of Chaos Strikes and Annihilations, I mean, it's inevitable that it will eventually proc, and I'm positive that I've gotten kills just from having the Relentless Onslaught conduit. So let's like summarize like what we just went over. So Relentless Onslaught potency conduit, right? And your Chaos Theory legendary, right? And the 15% buff that you will be getting for Annihilation and Chaos Strike. I think that Demon Hunters will just have more output damage than they already do. They already do hit really hard, as is, and I think we'll definitely be seeing more Demon Hunters with the buff. Let's go on over to Darkest Hour. Darkest Hour is our defensive legendary. Usually I'll run Darkest Hour if I'm playing against like a rogue. If I'm going up against, sometimes even like a Ret Paladin or a Windwalker Monk, even Warrior. It just depends on what healer or comp I'm running and what I'm versing, right? But 100 times I'll always run Darkest Hour if I'm going up against a rogue, just because they can get re-stealth so easily right now and lock us down with stuns and saps, and it's definitely saved my life. I've gotten kidney bombed and my healer's sitting like in a sap or a blind or something, and I don't have to do anything, right? I mean, I'm fully out of control of my character because I'm fully stunned, and the rogue will get me to 35% or lower. And with the way darkness is right now, with your PvP talent, Darkest Hour or Cover of Darkness, it makes your darkness 70% chance to negate all incoming damage. So, or all damage, right? 70% chance is huge, and you're safe, right? If the rogue is opening on you and you're in a kidney bomb, your healer's sapped or CC'd of some sort, you'll survive with Darkest Hour. It's definitely not 100%, but I mean, given the duration of the CCs, you'll be okay with Darkest Hour, and you'll be able to save your cooldowns for like another go. So assuming the rogue gets a re-stealth, right? He doesn't finish you off, but he gets a re-stealth, and I mean, you still have to find the rogue. Yes, you have Spectral Sight, but you can't always get to them. You can get CC'd and they can come by and sap you or whatever, right? I mean, you have another go, right? And you still have your regular darkness, which you can pre-dark if you're going to be going, if you find the rogue, right? And stun them, and you can do your thing, right? And then if you're going up against like a Ret Paladin, I mean, if you Final Reckonings and Divine Tolls and Final Verdicts you, or Templar's Verdicts you, right? I mean, with wings up, Darkest Hour can definitely save you there too. Ret Paladins, assuming they're running the PvP talent or of Reckoning, I mean, your abilities have guaranteed crits as a Demon Hunter, right? With like I-Beam, and you give a Ret Paladin infinite wings practically because you're always critting as a Demon Hunter. So Darkest Hour can definitely help you there too. A Windwalker Monk, I mean, it's more doable. You can like AoE stun like him and his Earth, Wind, and Fire cooldown, and his Tiger, the Zune, whatever you call it. If I'm doing games with people that are not as experienced, I mean, I'll run Darkest Hour just so I can live longer. But your main goal is just to be able to mitigate damage and to output as much damage as possible, right? As a Demon Hunter, you have some CC, very little CC, but your main goal is to always have that constant pressure and being on top of your target. And like I said, like 9 times out of 10, you'll run Chaos Theory on the off chance you verse a rogue, or you're like a Ret Paladin or Warrior, or something like with a heavy cleave comp, right? Like if you're running 3s and you're going into like Turbo, which is Enhancement Shaman, Arms Warrior, like healer, or a Frost Death Knight, Rep Paladin healer, or anything that'll a melee cleave, right? In threes, then Darkest Hour works as well. It just helps you out, helps your healer out. It's huge. Yeah, the other team can plan around that, but it just gives you like another get out of jail free card. And if you're also a Night Elf, right, and not Blood Elf, you have Shadow Meld. So you potentially have 2 extra defensive abilities technically. I made another video talking about why like I would consider Night Elf like a superior choice if you want for survivability as a Demon Hunter in PvP, just for Shadow Meld. So if you run Darkest Hour, you're a Night Elf, so you have 2 darks, right? You have Shadow Meld, you have Nether Walk, you have, assuming you run Battle Masters, you have a lot of different goes, but there's some other Demon Hunters that they run other legendaries as well, like Burning Wound, Dark Lair Medallion, Collective Anguish. Those are some other popular choices. But when it comes down to it, I would say Chaos Theory, Darkest Hour. Those are the top 2, in my opinion, because the other ones, Burning Wound doesn't really work that well in PvP, just because as a Demon Hunter, you're already squishy. Burning Wound is kind of designed, if you run it, yes, you can run Fell Rush with it, but if you also run Blade Dance with it, and your Immolation Aura, your Inferno, your Potency Conduit, this one, where is it? If you run Growing Inferno with it, and run Trail of Ruin, your dot damage is pretty insane, I would say. It's a lot of passive damage that adds up, but you need the burst, and Demon Hunters don't have that much survivability as is. So running Trail of Ruin, Growing Inferno, and Burning Wound kind of requires the Demon Hunter to have some more survivability, and it would potentially go into like a dampening game, I would think. That's my opinion. Back to the other one, Dark Lair Medallion. It's okay. They did buff it. It was a 20% chance to reset the cooldown of I-Beam. I mess around with it every now and then. I do have it made. But the perks of being in Metamorphosis a lot is you can potentially have the extra leech if you run Soul Rending, right? I mean, I don't really see a point in running Dark Lair Medallion if you're not able to run Soul Rending confidently. You're squishy as is. Netherwalk is a huge buff. Not huge buff, huge cooldown. It's a bubble essentially, right? So, I mean, to get full effect of Dark Lair Medallion, you would want to run Soul Rending, but our leech isn't that high anymore, and the game has too much burst and one-shot potential currently in 9.0.5. So your best talent, it would be Netherwalk by default. Collective Anguish runs into the same problem as Dark Lair Medallion. Yes, it summons a Vengeance Demon Hunter, right? Which uses Fell Devastation. And when you pair it up with Roaring Fire, you heal. You can heal for about 12k, right? But again, it goes back to you won't have that big immunity cooldown, right? You won't have Netherwalk, and if your healer's like CC'd, and you can get kicked on I-Beam, right? So in order to use that Collective Anguish, you have to be able to use your I-Beam. So you can get kicked, and then once you're kicked, I mean, you might have healed for 4k, 5k, but you're gonna die, right? So Netherwalk is just a guarantee, like all damage negated for 5 seconds, and you can run away at 100% speed, You can catch up with your healer. You can reverse him. You can imprison whoever's on you. Netherwalk overall is just better for that extra utility. And Chaos Theory isn't reliant upon like Leech or anything. It just buffs like one of your top damaging abilities. So those are the reasons for why Chaos Theory and Darkest Hour are like the best legendaries currently for Havoc DemonHunter in Arena as of Shadowlands 9.0.5. Will they change in the future? Yeah, they could. But as of right now, and even going into 9.1, Chaos Theory, Darkest Hour, those are your top two for Arena PvP as a Havoc DemonHunter. And that's all I got. It's a video 16 minutes. I'll be streaming later today. I stream every day. Twitch.tv/junkinmyhouse. Same as my YouTube. Give me a follow on YouTube and Twitch. And I'll make another video later. And I'll see everyone then. Later.